Okay, so here we are officially in session. This is the Board of Health meeting of April 16th, 2025. There are 4 board members, myself, Catherine Hilton, Arlene Reed, Garrett Simonson, and Wim Levine. And we also have some guests. We briefly had Frank McGinn, but he's gone. And
Catherine, I think that you accidentally renamed Frank as Wim.
Yes, I think you did
Yeah.
too.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry, Frank, or Tom, whichever one you want.
That might have been a compliment.
You or to him, do you think?
Either one. I don't
Okay,
care.
okay. Yeah, you know, when I go to do that, sometimes it jumps. So there's iPhone and that's Wim. Okay, now we got it. And so, okay, so there's the 4 board members who are here. We have Frank McGinn and we have Samsung SMG99IU, and I don't know who that is. Will you tell me who you are? Unmute yourself. Hello? Well, it's a mystery person. All right. Things on the agenda, the minutes from last time. Any objection to accepting these minutes as written?
None.
None.
Okay, let's just go with them. The one real business thing that we have on here is 30, what is it? What did I put? 31 or 36? I think it's 31 Merrill Drive. Anybody have the agenda in front of you? Okay, 31. That's the one that I thought we were talking about last time. That's the one that's been boarded up for 100 years. And what's going on now is that the current owner has a disposal works construction permit for a septic system replacement, and that permit has expired. It has just expired, like within the last month. And the way that this works, a permit for new construction is valid for 3 years, and a permit for a replacement or a repair is good for 2 years, because obviously we want it to get done quickly. In this case, it's kind of moot because the house has been uninhabited for a very long time. So we are at the where we are now is the current owner, for personal reasons, has been unable to do the project. He's selling the property. He has a buyer. Buyer wants to acquire the house and the permit, right? I've been in touch with both the buyer and the seller. So what I suggest that we do is extend that permit for another year from its original expiration date, which was sometime in March, so that they will have time to actually get this septic system in finally.
And no other circumstances have changed over the course of time since we permitted it in the past?
Apparently not. I looked at the permit, at the plot plan for the place across the street that we permitted recently. Right. And there's no impingement.
Okay.
So that should be fine. So I wonder if I can get a motion to extend the permit for 31, right? 31 Merrill Drive for another year from its original expiration date.
I move to extend the permit for 1 year for 31 Merrill Drive for permitting of the septic.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Arlene?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Wim?
Yes.
And Kat, yes. So there it is. I will attach there's somebody here. Attach a note to the original permit or send a letter saying that we've extended it for one more year. Okay, another thing that has come up that's not entirely within our bailiwick, but we got the call. Someone over on the west side of the lake called the Board of Health to say that some of her neighbors seem to be feeding the wildlife. I mean, not just birds, which is bad enough, but other wildlife too. And she's, seen foxes and bears and all kinds of other things. And this is like over there. It's very tight. She originally got in touch with the police chief, and the police chief told her to call the environmental police, and the environmental police told her to call the Board of Health. And I told her to get back on the phone with the police chief because I didn't really see what we could do. And she said she would do that. But I wonder if there is anything that we ought to do. Do you have any ideas?
Well, does it fall under into the category of nuisances? She's attracting animals. I wonder if it would qualify as a
That is a real possibility.
Especially if she's attracting raccoons and the like.
Yeah, garbage eating animals.
Or bears, for that matter.
Yeah, true. That certainly is a thought. I was kind of thinking,
How about animal control? Do we have an animal control officer?
I think we do. I'm not sure. I got the impression that our animal control officer might be resigning at a meeting I was listening into, but I wasn't listening in close. I was just waiting for my time to join the meeting. So I'm not sure if we have an animal control officer or not. But let me write that down as another possibility.
I am looking on the town website and I don't see anything. No, I don't see any animal control as an active board or committee or department or town official.
Is there
unless it's
dog
called
officer?
something? I'm just unless it's alphabetized under something other than animal. But so
There's
quickly
the police department. It says animal control calls should be made to the department.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
413-259-1279, which I assume is the.
That's a landline. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a problem for a lot of years, having an animal control officer and or dog officer that is actually responsive. I think we get basically veterinarians, and they're busy with their own profession. Years ago, Paul Blatch was a dog officer, but that was many, many years ago. I also had been thinking of either we could put out, or maybe Kristen could put out a town announce, just urging people to not attract animals to their yard and to take in their bird feeders if they haven't already, and so on and so forth, especially if they live in crowded neighborhoods.
I have, when I searched further under the list of appointed officials, I found Nancy Long is named, and however, her term ended, it looks like 12/31/24. So
I think she was at this select board meeting last week, and there were apparently new additional requirements on the animal control officer. And I think that she was not going to continue, but I'm not positive that is the case.
Yeah.
This may be something that should be brought up to the select board because uh, it seems like if they're going to collect fees for permitting of domestic animals, there should be an animal officer.
That seems fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's back in our laps, I mean, I question, where do you draw the line about feeding wildlife? Like bird feeders are okay, but putting out a pan of meat is not okay. But I mean, what about, I don't know what this person is doing to feed animals, but
I'm not entirely clear on it either. I think it's
Yeah.
partly the bird feeder, but I think there seems to be also something else going on.
and you know, some people put out pet dishes full of cat food for stray cats. And
Mm.
is that any different from, you know, putting out meat scraps and letting the raccoons come?
Presumably raccoons are eating some of that stray cat food too.
Mhm.
Right. So I didn't want to like come down and make rules or anything, but just to kind of get a little informational thing out there,
Right.
saying that one, it's not very smart to feed wild animals because it's not good for them. And two, especially if you live in a close neighborhood, it's not good for the people either to be attracting wild animals that could harm somebody's child or pet. And just leave it, perhaps foolishly, to people's good judgment,
Right.
and just kind of remind them that there are problems without, because I don't think that we really, unless we can document a nuisance, as you suggested, we don't really have any
Right.
real leverage here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking I would talk with Kristen about it,
Okay.
see if she has some ideas.
Makes sense.
And also find out if she was asked to go back and talk to the people who are doing this.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for your thoughts on that. Oh, here's another thing. You know, we've got this beaver dam situation down there at the Fisk Brook culvert. And I went to a meeting the other day with Beth Wilson and the new town administrator, Haley Bolton, and Dave Grenier, rather, who's the highway superintendent. And one of the upshots of this meeting was that they're going to reach out to Beaver Solutions and get them, see if we can hire them to take down the beaver dam, because the highway superintendent does not want to do it, and he doesn't want his guys to do it, and he doesn't think it's his job. So because we're coming down to the end of the fiscal year, paying for this could be problematic. And I'm gonna ask LWAC to be willing, you know, if we're asked to kick in some money, because they've got $1,000 budget and we haven't spent a single penny of it. And I don't think we're going to. And we've got more than $1,000 left in our line item budget for this year. So what would you think about our volunteering to share some of that cost from our budget if it's needed?
I'd be for it.
Yeah, I would be as well.
Any objections to it or concerns about it?
Just as long as the contractor then keeps up their end or delivers a report, or if we have to, then do we have to go observe to make sure they're doing it, or
I don't think so. I mean, I would certainly like to go down and see it gone, but I don't.
all right.
I don't think that we would have, it would entail any other obligation on our part.
You know this group.
Beaver Solutions?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done work all over town. They're
Oh.
they're the top purveyors of this kind of service, and they've put in probably, I think they said 4 or 5 water diversions throughout town and broadly elsewhere. I mean, they're quite respectable. It's
Great.
no reason to not trust them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, is that something we need to vote on?
Why, well, let's cover the base, I
Okay,
guess. In case it is something that, I mean, it sounds like, an action with our budget, within our budget, so I would move that we, how shall I word this?
Authorize an expenditure, I guess.
Yeah, that we authorize an expenditure from our remaining fiscal year 25 budget to share in the costs of removal of the beaver dam at Fish Pond Culvert,
if needed.
if it is needed. Yes.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all in favor? Arlene, you're in front of me.
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Wim,
Yes.
Kat, yes. Okay, thank you. Now, what do you guys have to tell me?
Uh-huh.
Anything?
So I tried really hard to stay on top of Randy Cardinal's emails.
Oh God, there's so many.
Oh, I will be the first to admit, I have a hard time. There are so many acronyms and they bounce around with one another, and I can't say I make sense out of every one of his emails. But I did, I was particularly baffled by the MAFCO budget period 2 priority areas and funding. Anyway, there were a lot of them that that I just didn't get.
Yeah,
So I would ask that if anyone has, some bullets that I really need to pay attention to, if is there
right.
something I really need to zero in on here?
So
Right.
unfortunately, you should all be prepared to receive many more emails from Randy. Because
Lord.
what is happening is that we are at a place where the end of one budget period
Mm-hmm.
and the start of a new budget period are colliding. So he's in the process of closing out a bunch of things for this fiscal year.
Mhm.
And DPH has some pretty aggressive expectations of the Public Health Preparedness Coalition statewide to prepare for the next budget period, despite the fact that CDC has given very little information about what may or may not occur.
Mhm.
So normally in this process of going into the next budget period, CDC would have released a 40 or 50 page document that says, here are the deliverables, here are the expectations, this is the funding. They released a 3-page document.
Mm.
And so each of the coalitions are being asked to prepare work plans off of very little to go on and to assume level funding, except for in the case of MAFCO will be the only, if funding continues, MAFCO will be the only coalition in the state that receives a decrease because Williamsburg is
Mm.
transitioning to Hampshire County,
I see.
to
Okay.
the Hampshire County Coalition.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're gonna see
And when
few emails
when
from
we use the term coalition, are we referring to our participation in MAFCO, or
Yes.
are we also referring to the Valley Health Collaborative?
So that's separate. That's all state funds. And that should be relatively safe for now because it's largely state funds.
Okay.
But all of the cuts that came around CDC pulling, CDC and HHS pulling back a lot of the COVID funding,
Mhm.
and some of the HIV/AIDS funding is really having pretty significant impact within DPH.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, what that also has meant is that while CDC isn't communicating with the states, communication from the state also has kind of decreased because
They don't know anything.
they don't know anything.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this very, very unfortunate situation. But in terms of the communications from Randy and MAFCO, I'm trying to, as best I can, keep on top of those.
Mhm.
And if there are specific things that I think I need from the rest of the board, I'll
Please
holler, raise a white flag, whatever.
give a shout out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that one of the things in one of the emails was this framework, training for framework to do that survey, but we don't need to do that, right? Because Megan did our survey. Is that
So
correct?
that's related to the Foundational Public Health Services
Mm-hmm.
initiative, which comes out of that blue ribbon or the governor's report or whatever that was from a number of years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
that is separate. So the framework workshop that Randy is talking about is a CDC deliverable for this budget period. So DPH has asked all of the coalitions to either update or develop a public health preparedness and response framework that can be integrated into local plans, whether that's the comprehensive emergency management plan that the fire chief maintains as the emergency management director or some other plan. So when you see the thing about the framework workshop, I mean, you're all welcome to join that as well. I will attend that.
Okay. Well, by me, you'll be attending it on behalf of our board, and I don't know that we need everybody. Or how do you feel about that? Do you want other people to
Yeah.
join in, or?
I mean, based on what I'm seeing from replies from other communities, from the email that Randy sent, it looks like there's like I was surprised to see Northfield had responded that they were going to attend, and they haven't been as active recently, so that was an encouraging thing. I mean, if
Mhm.
you're interested, welcome.
Okay, yeah, it does seem like we're being asked for a lot that's fairly complex. And I kind of don't know how to cope with it. Hi, Noreen.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late.
We thought you were off someplace.
Oh, no, not yet.
So we're kind of winding up here. We just we're just now talking about all these emails we get from Randy Cardinal.
And that, so the date of that workshop, Tuesday, the 29th at 5 o'clock, is a difficult day for me. I've relatives arriving that day for a few days stay. So that's a tough one for me.
Mhm.
Do we still have visitors here on the meeting? Did they have anything they were joining for a purpose, or?
Yeah, I just saw an email from the guy who owns the permit that we just extended, saying that was him, but he couldn't figure out how to unmute himself or something.
Oh dear.
So we know who that was.
Yep.
And
I
Frank.
just came on to hear what was going on with the beaver and all that.
I see. Mm-hmm.
I heard there was going to be a site visit, so I actually went to the culvert, but I guess the meeting was at town hall.
Ah,
Oh, yes, that's right. It was a town hall and it had to be brief because it was at the end of the workday. One of the things that we talked about at that meeting was this whole business of having to keep the channel open for navigation by canoes and kayaks, largely for but not entirely for the benefit of Camp Anderson. And because Dave says, I do no reason not to believe him, that basically the dam won't really hold back any significant amount of water. It'll raise the level in that upstream spot, but it won't keep the water from coming through. Anyway, the point was brought up by somebody that if we're going to all this trouble for Camp Anderson, they should be part of the solution. So I think that Haley is going to reach out to them and see if we can get them to either contribute some money or do some other thing, or at least be involved in this, since it's largely their access to the lake that is at issue here.
Well, one thing I'd mention is that I hear a lot about the beaver and Fisk Pond and the beaver from Fisk Pond building all this. There is a beaver in Fisk Pond, and there's also
there's more than one.
more than one, but there's also two beavers that live at the east end of Lake Wyola. And since 2018, since I've been here, I see them all the time. And the night of the site visit, it was like glass. One came out on this side of my side of the lake, and another one beelined straight down. You could see the wake going all the way to the end of the lake. So I don't know if anyone can say specifically who built the dam, the east side beavers or the west side beavers.
That's a very interesting point.
So in other words, when you come down to the side, whatever it is, I know Elwack and Mark Rivers has always said, the beavers are doing that up there, but I watched a beaver go to that end of the lake. So I just wanted to bring that up. There's two beavers since I've lived here. And there's also otters. I saw the otter yesterday morning. We have them both at this end of the lake.
Right.
In all winter, we have the what do you call that?
Those little weaselly things.
Yeah, the weasel. When the weasel's there, you get to watch them all winter. It's a lot of fun.
The fishers.
The fish, yeah. When they come up, either weasels or otters, I forget, but it's fun to watch. And the other thing is access to the lake. I know that you're trying to keep it open, and Haley will probably reach out to them. And someone mentioned Beaver Deceiver at one of the meetings, keeping the dam that way. That we still have access. There's a kayak launch across the street, the new kayak launch. So that's another access.
True.
True.
They'd have to cross the road, but they could still get into the lake.
So that's just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
The knowledge of the beavers is, I see the pair come out every night. I haven't seen them yet. They'll be coming out soon. It's easier to see them when it's like glass, it's too windy. And I've also seen the pair up at, or at least one of them. I've seen one of them at Fisk Pond, but I haven't seen two, but I don't live up there. So I wanted to mention that there are more beavers living in the lake.
Right. Yeah. Those beavers have been up at that end for a long time. I didn't realize that they were in communication with the other ones. But I think that the pressure on this is in fact coming from upstream at Fisk, because there's at least one lodge and possibly two on Fisk Pond, and they've got that beaver deceiver. But what they're doing now, if you've gone to the end of the pond and looked down where the outfall is, they're completely colonizing that area underneath the pond. So where it used to be trails and stuff, now it's a big mosquito ranch.
I wish, I was with Bob Douglas from the conservation. He thought it was going to be there too. The day before, the town he works for, he's a beaver expert. He would have had some great insight to this.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. He told me some weird things, but anyway, he gave a talk on beavers to something the day before the site visit. So,
But- And maybe I don't understand beavers that well, but my understanding is that they build dams in order to flood their hunting areas, their fishing and hunting areas. So why would a beaver on the east or southeast, the downstream side of Lake Wyola, why would they make a dam at the culvert coming from Fisk Pond?
Because what they want to
Upstream.
flood is that upstream area, that sort of shallow pool there. They have at least one lodge there. They want to keep the water level high enough so that they have access.
But the
to-
Fisk Pond beavers would want to do that. The
I would-
beavers
Oh,
living
yeah, why
further
these
down
would
on
be
Lake
interested.
Wyola would not have that same,
Right,
unless they were traveling by land to go get to Fisk Pond, which they're not going to do.
which, no, yeah. No, that's a good question. They might be related to them, or who knows? Maybe they
Yeah.
like to fish over there. I don't know. So, I mean, they might be doing something there, but since they have their own rather elaborate setup at the other end of Wyola, it's doubtful, to me at least, that they would actually be doing the construction.
But what do I know?
But who knows?
Right.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks.
So is there anything else that we need to talk about tonight?
No progress at 56 Wendell Road,
The last I heard about it was a legal thing.
and that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
The temptation to just go down and burn down the rest of it is really strong. God, it's been years.
It has been years.
That looks awful.
It
It's
does.
awful.
And it looks worse
Yeah.
all the time.
It does. Talk about nuisances.
Yeah, really. And I've kind of given up because it seems like there isn't anything we can do, short of taking some kind of drastic action and basically taking the house away. Which, I don't want to be the chair of a board that goes around dispossessing people,
Right.
even people who are driving me crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, but the alternative of just letting it rot there is
Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's loathsome. It's,
right. It is.
I'm not sure what steps short of hauling him into court. I don't know if did we ever bring Donna McNichol into this in at least a advisory role?
I consulted Donna about, receivership or something like that, and it seemed to be so much more drastic and also so much more complicated and expensive than I thought it was going to be, that I just backed off.
Sure.
I could possibly talk with Claudia and see if she has some other suggestion.
Because at that inspection that occurred a little more than a year ago, one of her last words to Greg was, "Well, keep us posted."
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. If I ask him, he might tell me something.
Maybe we should let Claudia know he has not kept any of us posted, and it's continues to just,
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Claudia to send him a letter, as if he paid any attention to that,
Mhm.
but it might be something.
Oh, speaking of Claudia, I think this was since our last meeting, but maybe we already, did we, I should know because I read the minutes, but Claudia is going to do the inspection of
Morse Hill.
Morris Hill. And
Yes, she is going to do it. And so I got in touch with Megan
Mhm.
and said, you know, things are a little bit weird here, and I know there were differences and so on. And she told me what the things were that were sort of left undone previously, and it wasn't too bad. And she also sent me what I think is a new checkoff form that's quite extensive. So I forwarded that to Claudia.
Great.
And,
Okay.
you know, with a few tactful suggestions, and said, oh, you probably know all this anyway, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm hoping that they'll be kind of on the same page with this.
It'll up her game. Okay.
Yeah, apparently, what I gathered from Megan is that, like everything else in the state, there are now new requirements. Basically, new reporting requirements for this kind of thing. So it may be that Claudia was just not up to speed, or it may be that Megan happened to be doing it right at the moment when things changed.
Okay.
So, so Claudia is on it, and
Okay.
I'm gonna just hope that she's doing it right.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for doing that.
Anything else we want to talk about? I guess not. So our next meeting will be when? May 7th.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll see you all then. If we're
Okay.
ready, let
You
us.
won't see me.
Oh,
Okay.
is that when you're gonna be away on your trip with,
Yeah,
with the babies?
yes, the first two, both meetings in May, most likely.
Okay.
Okay, and remind us where you're going?
I am going to hike the Scottish Highlands,
That's right.
and then
Good.
we're going
Very
to Ireland, and then we're getting on a boat and going to Northern Ireland.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, so yes,
Have
a
a
lot of
great
moving
time.
parts, but very exciting.
Sounds great. And Wim, how's the knee?
It's all right. I had to fill out a questionnaire at PT. They asked if I feel better than I did 2 weeks ago, and I had to say yes.
I hope you said yes, but not very much.
All right.
How many weeks is it now, Wim?
10.
10, okay.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling some better.
Yeah,
anyway.
for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, you guys,
All
thank
right.
you. And we'll meet again, and some of us, on May 7th.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
Bon voyage, Noreen.
yes,
Fun.
Have fun.
thank you.